Hey guys, it's Will with Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society, back with a Blu-ray review, one I've been promising you for a very long time. I have finally got around to it. What is it? Hell to the Mother Trucking. Yes, it is the Criterion Collection Police Story and Police Story 2 Blu-ray set. So what I'm going to do here, and like I said, I've been promising to do this since March of this year. I think it's been 7 months. So I'm going to go through kind of the physical presentation here, show you the packaging. I'm going to talk about the presentation of the movie, and then I'm going to talk about the bonus features. Physical presentation is incredible. I love this. Check it out. Ooh, it's a side slip case. How cool is that? And so you have original artwork from Criterion Collection for Police Story and for Police Story 2 right there. And then this folds out and you've got that. And then fold it again and there are your discs. And you can see this thing is here. So that's kind of like the whole inside there. And then you have this. This is Criterion started doing this a lot recently, where instead of having booklets, they have a poster and then there's an essay on the back of it. So, which way is up here? So this is kind of fun, because if you've seen Police Story, they do that whole thing where Jackie gets roped into this, promotional campaign to, advertise for the police, and this is, like a artwork based on, one of those promotional photos, which is cool. And then there's, Nick Pinkerton does, a whole essay in here contextualizing the film and talking about, Jackie's career, what Jackie was trying to do with the movie, how they filmed it, all that kind of stuff, the usual stuff that you get from the essays like that, high quality stuff. And then there's, the credits and stuff are in there too. So, the presentation of the film, the look of the film, looks incredible. It's a, is it a 4K remaster or a 2K? It's a 2K digital transfer for the first time from 35mm Hong Kong release prints of the film. So, yeah, it's interesting because and it really does look incredible. And what I really like about this release is that it looks like a really high quality version of what the movie is. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. There are, and I'm not going to talk about, remasters and re-releases of older films. I'm not talking about the 88 film stuff. I'm talking about other stuff. I have seen remastered releases of 80s movies that doesn't look like an 80s movie. It doesn't look like the movie that was shot in the 80s. It looks like they're maybe changing the colors, or they're I read this really interesting article once about the Lethal Weapon Blu-ray transfers, and about how a lot of people complained about them being dark, but that was actually how they were shot. They were film noir influence, and they're supposed to look like that. And in fact, a lot of 80s movies that are brought onto Blu-ray and remastered, they brighten them because people are accustomed to that because of the way modern things are shot and the way they, they have these really nice TVs with these really high contrast and stuff like that. And they actually change the look of the film to make it easier to see, rather than trying to stay true to the vision of the filmmaker, or in some instances because maybe they were just low budget or whatever, excuse me, the way the film was shot. I apologize if I cough a lot throughout this video. I've had a really bad cold for a couple weeks. That's why I haven't shot any new content in a while, and I'm finally getting over it, and so I'm still have lingering vestiges of my cold. So this really does look like Police Story as you're used to seeing it, just super clear, high definition, and I really do like that. There are shots there that are a bit low light, where they could have gone in and brightened it up and stuff like that, and they just leave the film as it is and just make it as pristine looking as they can, and I think that's really cool, and I really appreciated that. So the bonus features here are insane. This contains what I think is the second best Jackie Chan bonus feature I've ever seen in my life on any release that I own, and it's just an incredible, if I were to rate this, I would give it 5 stars out of 5 or 10 out of 10 or whatever. If you are a Jackie Chan fan, if you are a fan of the Police Story films, you absolutely have to go out and get this as soon as you can. I know that Criterion releases are pretty expensive, but it really, really is worth it. So the bonus feature that I thought was genuinely incredible is it's called The Son of an Incredibly Strange Film Show. This is almost an hour long. It's from 1989, and it was, so Jonathan Ross, if you know who that is, he's a British TV presenter, right? And he went to Hong Kong while they were filming Miracles, which was 1989, I believe. And he interviewed Jackie Chan and Maggie Cheung and all these other people, like Willie Chan, you know, who's like Jackie Chan's manager and stuff like that. And they interviewed them about Jackie's career, about Police Story, about other movies that he was in. They go to his editing room and show him working on footage. They ask him about his stunts, about the evolution of his career. And you can see like this, you know, he goes to Shaw Studios with Jonathan Ross, which is crazy. You see like Jackie on like those sets at Shaw Studios, like walking around, like sets you've seen in like Five Deadly Venoms and stuff like that. It's really just like the coolest thing in the world, honestly. And it's the only other bonus feature I've ever seen on a Jackie Chan release that I liked more than that one is on the Heart of Dragon release, which I think is over here. Yeah, the Heart of Dragon release has this thing that's like an hour long that's from Japanese television that was shot on the set of Heart of Dragon. And the only reason I think I like that more is that has a lot of fly on the wall footage where you see them actually making the film and you learn so much about their filmmaking process. Whereas this one is more of like a presentational, like who is Jackie Chan, what are his films kind of thing for like British TV audiences. Edgar Wright actually says that he saw that when he was a kid and that's what made him fall in love with Jackie Chan. And Edgar Wright has 2 bonus features on here. He has an interview with Jackie Chan on a podcast that's like an hour long. It has a bunch of really great information on it. Like Jackie tells Edgar Wright that he wanted to retire actually after, like right before Rush Hour, he was planning on retiring because he felt he was getting old. He couldn't do the stunts anymore. Then Rush Hour became a big hit and he did a bunch of American movies and his plan was to retire after his last American movie. And then he went back to Hong Kong and he had become huge in like mainland China, or like he was even more big in mainland China, or like mainland Chinese people wanted to make movies with him, something like that. And so he started doing more mainland China stuff. And his career just kept going and going. But it's funny, he like talks about all these different times he wanted to retire. And like, I'm just going to get my notes here because I wrote down like some of the stuff that he talks about that was really interesting. I mean, he talks about like, because Edgar Wright is a filmmaker, obviously, you know, they talk about stuff like editing and, you know, like different techniques he uses for editing and how he shows martial arts scenes and like how some people shoot martial arts scenes by like doing the whole thing in wide and then coming closer and closer, like more American style. And Jackie will like figure out this one shot and then that one shot and stitch it together. Like that kind of stuff is really, there's also an interview with Jackie on here that I think is undated. And just to tell you, there's 3 hours of bonus features on here and then there's 3 movies. So there's 2 cuts of the film, 2 cuts of Police Story 2 and then the 1 cut of Police Story. And I'll talk about the other cut of Police Story 2 in a second here. But so there's 8 or 9 hours worth of stuff altogether on the set between the films and the bonus features. But there's an interview with Jackie Chan that's just him. That's not one of the Edgar Wright ones where he's talking about, you know, like his process for editing and conceiving of stunts and how, like with Police Story, for instance, he thought of a bunch of stunts that he wanted to do. And then he started thinking of how to stitch those together, like with a plot. And so like the stunts came first and then the script came and then like the movie kind of came together like that. It's really interesting. So there's another Edgar Wright thing that's just Edgar Wright himself talking about how he fell in love with Jackie Chan and how Jackie Chan influenced him and how Police Story influenced him and stuff like that. Grady Hendricks, who I think is one of the founders of the New York Asian Film Festival. He's like a film festival guy, but also an author and a film historian and stuff. He has 2 little pieces on here. Let me see if I can find the names of them. So the Edgar Wright thing is... yeah, here we go. New programs on Chan's screen persona and action filmmaking techniques featuring author and New York Asian Film Festival co-founder Grady Hendricks. So he talks about, one of the things that I think is really interesting about the Grady Hendricks features on here is he talks about kind of the history of Hong Kong cinema and how there were like all, you know, old school martial arts movies and then the Shaw Brothers, and then the Shaw Brothers at some point were making like cop movies, but they weren't really becoming big hits. And then like the new wave of Hong Kong filmmakers came in and they were making kind of more like dramas and serious films that were about, you know, what it meant to be from Hong Kong and to have lived there and grown up there. And so you were having all of these, you were having like action cinema, Shaw Brothers, all these things, but there wasn't like a concrete set idea of what a Hong Kong film should be. And in this time, Hong Kong filmmakers really try to figure that out. Like, what is a Hong Kong film versus a mainland Chinese film versus a Taiwanese film? Like, what is the identity of Hong Kong cinema? And as they were trying to figure that out, lightweight cameras came in, right? So you could shoot on the streets, you could shoot Hong Kong, right? You could change the way you shot action cinema, so it didn't have to be bound to a studio and it didn't have to be, you know, shot in a traditional way. And they Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung and people like that were not shooting sync sound. So if you don't know what that means, sync sound is when you shoot the sound on the set and then you use that in the movie. And that's what a lot of filmmakers do, like especially in the United States and stuff like that. But it's a big thing in Europe, for instance, like with the Italians. Fellini would never shoot sync sound. he would just film without sound. People would just say whatever, right? And then in post, and a lot of this was done in part because on Fellini's films, people spoke different languages. Like he would have British actors, Italian actors, like stuff like that, French actors, right? Swedish actors. In post, they would just dub all the voices, right? So they did that for these Jackie Chan films, and that makes it, you could shoot a lot faster, but you could also go out on location and not worry about noise and not worry about, like if you're shooting in the city, you don't have to worry about shutting down traffic because the car noise is not going to be a problem. Airplanes coming overhead are not going to be a problem, right? And it allowed them, with this lightweight cameras and with not shooting sync sound, in this era when they were trying to develop a unique voice for Hong Kong cinema, to go out and try to do stuff about the city and the people who lived in the city, rather than like these Shaw Brothers historical epics and stuff like that, right? And so Police Story really is a movie that takes like the drama and the comedy elements from that era in filmmaking, where people are trying to understand what it means to make Hong Kong cinema unique, but also the action stuff that was part of this long tradition, and combine those. And that's what makes it such a watershed film. And it was really cool to kind of learn all that history and see the clips from all these different movies that he's talking about and stuff like that. So those are really interesting bonus features. There's an interview on here with Benny Lai, who plays like the mute explosives guy in Police Story 2. Jackie Chan's stunt reel television program from 1964 detailing the rigors of Beijing opera training akin to the education that Jackie Chan received as a child. So if you've seen any of that material before, like there's other bonus features about that kind of stuff on other releases, then you'll be familiar with what that is, but it's still cool to check out. Archive interview with Chan, so that was the one I was talking about, where he talks about like his editing techniques and stuff like that. So one other thing I wanted to mention here is there is an hour-long documentary about Jackie Chan and his stunt team, where they go into his warehouse and they show all the props they use and how they conceive of stunts, and they show like they shoot a couple stunt scenes unique to this documentary, and then go through it and be like, well, we couldn't use this take because he didn't land properly here, this stuntman, or like we couldn't use this take because he didn't spin fast enough in that part to make this hit land hard enough. Like, it's really interesting where they go through and talk about how particular Jackie is about the shooting and the editing and all of these tiny things that just didn't work. And they also go to like a set and they show them setting up scenes on a set and like how they kind of conceive of choreography, where Jackie's like, okay, well, I have 5 guys attacking me and I don't want to seem like those ones are just waiting to attack me. So how do I choreograph the scene so that it seems like we're all fighting at the same time? It's really, really cool. And my favorite thing about that little bonus feature was Jackie shows off these binders he has, where he has things he's taken like from magazines and from newspapers and stuff and pasted in his binder that are like vehicles, bridges, buildings, cities, like from all over the world, from all eras, of things that he thinks are cool that maybe you could do stunts based on. And he shows lists of all these stunt ideas that he has, and he's got like this little notepad. It's like the size of your hand, right? And it has Golden Harvest letterhead on it, and it has stunts listed on it, and some of them are crossed off, and it's from like 1982. And there's like stunts from Project A on there that you can see he's like drawn a line through. He's like, oh, we did that one in Project A, we did that one in Police Story, whatever. It's like the coolest thing, because it's like this is his laboratory, this is where he conceives of these insane ideas. And he talks about how when he first started doing the new style of fighting, is he kind of talks about how like everyone in these old kung fu movies and Shaw Brothers and all those other types of films were doing this very specific type of fighting, which was like ha 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 ha, right? So if you think of like a beat in a song, it's like on the beat, every beat there's a move, ha ha ha, right? And so Jackie wanted to like change the rhythm of fighting and make it more chaotic and like street fighting. So he would do stuff like Benny Urquidez says when they were doing Wheels on Meals, he would see Jackie like doing like that on the set, and he'd be like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm coming up with the rhythm for the fight. And he would want to break those traditional rhythms and do more interesting stuff. And he says that people started copying that style of fighting after he became really popular for it. So then he started doing the crazy stunts, and no one else was willing to do the crazy stunts because they didn't want to die, basically. Well, and also because they didn't have as good a stunt team as he did, right? Because he had like the greatest stunt team. And so that became like his thing, because he just wanted something unique and original that was like his own identity as a performer. So anyway, like I could talk about this forever. I just want to see if there's anything else in my notes that I wrote down here that I really wanted to mention. I mean, Maggie Chung is in here, and her interview is pretty cool. She talks about how she was like kind of afraid to do her own stunts, but like, she built up the bravery, seeing seeing everyone else do it, and she enjoyed doing it in the long run. Although she was in the hospital for a while when she took that, she takes that hit on the back of the head in Police Story 2, like that landed her in the hospital. Rick Myers is in here. And he's wearing the most amazing outfit you've ever seen in your life, because it's like an interview with Rick Myers from the 80s. And he has like he looks like Coppola. Like he's got this big Coppola beard that's like all black, and he's wearing this like button-up shirt tucked into these pants that he like, it's just, and he's got these big glasses. It's amazing, and it's like one of the coolest outfits and like looks I've ever seen anyone have in an interview. It's super cool. And I wanted to talk about the other cut of Police Story 2. So, Police Story 2 is like 2 hours long, right? There's a cut on here that's like 90 minutes, and apparently it was done for like a US home video release of the movie, but it's taken from a film print. So it's been remastered and it looks really good, but they didn't take all the time to remove the scratches from it. So it's actually really cool, because it's like watching a film print in a theater, because it has like the nicks and scratches and the grain of the film and stuff like that. So like I said, I think it's 30 minutes shorter, and it's like a lot of the stuff that's taken out is the like the politics of the police station, basically, like Jackie getting yelled at, or like Jackie arguing with people, or like they take out the scene where Jackie and his boss go and bug the office in the office building. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Like they sneak into the office and Jackie bugs like the conference table, which is actually a pretty big plot point. So it's kind of like, you're like, well, some of the movie must be confusing if they took that out. But anyway, it's like stuff like that. Like all the action scenes are intact and things like that. So but it's really cool to watch, like I said, with like that grain of the film, and to watch and think about why they would have taken things out for audiences at the time and stuff like that. So like as you can hear through my effusive, like this is just an incredible set. It's a must-have. This for me, along with like the 88 Films releases of like Heart of Dragon, Dragons Forever, stuff like that, and then Eureka has released Project A and Wheels on Meals. I have not picked those up. I swear I'm going to at some point down the line. I will pick those up and I will do reviews of them. But to me, like this and like this release here, which is Dragons Forever, Operation Condor, like I said, and like Heart of Dragon, like it's like must have Jackie Chan, like best releases ever. Amazing picture quality, amazing packaging, amazing bonus features. My name is Will. This has been Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. We have 900 subs now. I know I'm saying this at the very end of the video. It's totally worthless, but that's incredible. Thank you so much. It really means a lot to us that we're really cruising like this and picking up all these subscribers, that people like the content and everything. We'll see you next time.